This is Hassan Piker.
Oh, this guy.
For those that are not familiar, this guy is one of the most prominent leftist streamers. And he was shocked to see me in this chair. But what this clip reveals is that he literally did not know that Abrego Garcia, the MS-13 gang member, illegal immigrant, was from El Salvador. Listen to this. Let me start from the beginning.
Hoax, the Covington smear, and now what's being called the Maryland man hoax, where an MS-13 gang member adjudicated by two different judges, I believe, is just simply being referred to as a Maryland man over and over again.
Is he not a Maryland man? What?
I'll have you believe, sir, he's actually not from Maryland. He's from D.C.
He's not from Maryland. He's from El Salvador. And he thought the point I was making was nitpicking whether it was D.C. or Maryland, as opposed to pointing out this guy illegally entered the country, as the court has already determined.
Is that what Beanie Boy's saying?
He is not a man. He's not a man from Maryland.
Yeah,
Maryland is fake.
Russia Today
How is
correspondent
Tim
Tim Pool. Yep. Yeah, I love the centrist liberal Tim Pool. Hey guys, centrist liberalism. Wait, is he wearing a hoodie under his like suit jacket? Oh,
no.
Gross.
It's literally just a single hoodie. Look at this. It's a true classic hoodie. They're not very expensive.
Brother, suit jacket, hoodie, beanie combo is so gross, dude.
I thought this was a really good opportunity to break down a lot of the problems in the corporate press and alternative media. Hassan doesn't even know what I'm wearing, and he's speaking to millions of people. But the important thing is, I show you this once again, and I can't believe okay, guys, I gotta tell you. First, there was a horse. The horse died, and we started beating the dead horse. Okay, this story is a dead horse being beaten over and over again. We pulverized it into glue yesterday and cat food. Now it is just probably ash and charcoal and maybe the teeth remaining, because if we keep, I don't know how many times I can point this out. He is not a citizen or national of the U.S. He is a native of El Salvador. This is can you pull this up? This is the court document showing dude is from El Salvador. But the reason I stress this again, the first thing I'll say is, it's for those that are watching the live show, you're like, Tim, you just told us this. Yes, but this will be a segment specifically addressing Hassan. When people like Hassan pull up these news stories and they march in lock, they genuinely believe, like, CNN's telling me the truth. He goes, he's not from Maryland. What's he from, D.C.? It's like, no, my dude, he's from El Salvador. But people like Hassan don't do any journalistic work. They don't research. They don't pull up court documents. So he actually thinks, and I feel bad for him because I understand his anger. Hassan believes that Donald Trump accidentally arrested an American citizen from Maryland and deported him to El Salvador. I mean, that would terrify me too. We've said on the show numerous times, American citizens should not be going to El Salvador. But this is what the corporate press does.
The fascinating thing I believe about all this is that it reminds me of the defund the police thing, which is a portion of the left gets fixated on something and it takes over the entire left side of the aisle to the point where they look absolutely berserk and crazy. And when you've got a senator and 4 congressmen going down to El Salvador to a prison to meet and shake hands and have margaritas with an MS-13 gang member, you're not even crazy anymore. You're like certifiably insane.
A little.
And so, like, if you want to pulverize the horse, kill it, turn it into glue, cat food, turn it into ash, I say we just keep doing it until they stop talking about it.
Yeah.
Because it's our issue. We've won it, and we're going to win tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
A little context about this guy. He specifically said that there are baby settlers. He takes the side of Hamas. Yeah. He specifically said that there are baby settlers, and that how he doesn't judge how people rise up. He's literally had Houthi terrorists on his stream. He said that he said he's speaking to a translator who's translating to the Houthi terrorist. Tell him that we believe that he's doing what Luffy would do. Luffy's a character from One Piece, which is a manga. And so he literally takes the side of terrorists. He straight up has said that America deserved 9/11. Came out and said it. So he.
You better be careful. Trump might deport him.
Yeah, I would love it. He's an anchor baby. He's an anchor baby. But like he actually kind of is emblematic of the left in that they can't help but take the side of the bad guys. The left was on the side of the people that were firebombing cities across the country in 2020. The former vice president, Kamala Harris, was actually advertising a website to help pay for the legal fund for people that were arrested, not for protesting, but for actually rioting. Kamala Harris took a picture with, I forget the guy's name. He was the guy that was killed by shot by the police because he was about to take off with a car full of kids. He had a knife. Jacob Blake. And he's the reason that Kenosha burned down. Yep. The vice president went and took pictures with him. The left continually sides with people that are not just on the left, but they literally side with criminals and the bad guys.
It's not a bug either.
Yes.
It's a feature. I mean, that's a
100%.
feature of the system.
I agree, but I also think there's a point to be made in that, you know, some of these guys just aren't smart enough to do the digging, and you know, obviously, there's a lot of people who would rather just insult and rag on Hassan, and you take the low road. Serge is raising his hand, but I'm going to say this with sincerity. I think the dude genuinely just believes too much fake stuff and doesn't know what's real. And so, like, I'll say it again. I mean, when the news initially broke about the administrative error, my position was, okay, they deported an illegal immigrant. This is an administrative error. They shouldn't have done this. And I get a bunch of people now taking that quote and sending it to me and saying, what's up, Tim? Where are you at now? I'm like, oh, well, they came out with the arrest documents showing it was MS-13. They cited the Alien Enemies Act saying that he is part of a terrorist organization. Here's the evidence. Here's the image of his tattoos. Here's the informant giving his rank. Here's the arrest report showing him with known gang members. Here's his wife trying to cover up his tattoos. And he's a wife beater. And I'm like, I see. So what's the remedy then for the administrative error is a USCIS interview. That's it. Now, I did do an interview. I had an interview with Secretary Noem, and we actually spoke for about half an hour. But at least in this regard, she said, at this point, it's out of our jurisdiction. He is not an American citizen. There's no remedy for this. He can have a USCIS interview if he finds his way back here somehow, but it's not going to happen. There's no reality where that happens. If he does come back, he will simply get his hearing and be deported immediately. So they're arguing for this administrative tool. We're at the point now where Senator Van Hollen has backed away saying, I don't care if he's deported. If he came back, they'd say, okay, wait, before you enter the country, USCIS agent, how are things in El Salvador? They've arrested all of the gang members. Okay, bye. Back in the plane. Go home.
For Mr. Andy, your question of beating I have a question for you.
Yeah.
The problem with the right, a lot of times, is we always follow the narratives of the left. We let them tell us the stories, and we've been beating this dead horse for weeks now. Why can't we just stop and start talking about what we want to talk about and have them follow us instead of us follow them?
I think the chief reason is because the deck is stacked against us because the corporate media is so large and funded so predominantly by corporate interests that it's tough to suffocate that noise and talk about what we want to. I mean, gosh, Caroline Levitt would be happy to talk about what we want to talk about every day, but she can't. But when there's only one guy in the room who's...
Doesn't Donald Trump just tweet and set the narrative? I feel like what you're saying is actually contrary to the reality.
It's a tug of war. I would agree with you because we have talked about it before that I've said in the past, we need to start telling them what the story is. And we've been increasingly doing it. I think this election, the podcast presidency, was the inflection point where this is a tug of war. So Signalgate versus Maryland Man hoax is a good example of this. Well, actually, they probably ran face first into that on accident. But see how they're trying to shift back to Pete Hegseth? It's an old story. Signalgate was a month ago. Yeah. Like, we're over this. This news cycle has moved on. But they initially tried to make us care about a circumstance not worth caring about. Did you know that a journalist was accidentally given access to partial information related to strikes in Yemen? No times, no targets, no locations, no known weapons, vehicles, yes. And I'm sorry, I should say partial times, but without location. And by all means, you can criticize it. But journalists get access to this information all the time. So, like, what's the story? They desperately tried to make us care about that. And we just walked away from it for the most part. We did talk about it for sure. Yeah. But so I would say this. if you track the news cycle and look at the corporate press, they talked about it for about a week and a half longer than we did. It was nuts how many like panels they were doing on it. It was kind of funny.
Well, yeah, this has been, like I said, it's a feature, not a bug. If you go all the way back to the French Revolution, you got Marat and like the guys running the papers. Once they realized, hey, we can turn on this outrage machine and rile up the sans-culotte to go, storm the Bastille or whatever, they've never turned it off. And that's the lesson the left has learned that we're just starting to figure out, I think, on the right, where we can set the narrative if we have Trump and the White House tweeting about it, if we've got a few pointed media companies that are thoughtful about it. And this was the inflection point in this election where I think we're starting to get the hang of it.
I think that's right.
I do want to just add as a quick aside before we move on, is Harry Sisson tried coming after me. He said, Tim Pool cried about President Zelensky not wearing a suit when he met with Trump. But this is how Tim showed up to the White House today. Zip-up jacket and a beanie. Maybe he shouldn't be such a hypocrite.
Did you meet Trump?
When I met Trump, I wore a suit.
Yeah.
And I went to a very nice clothing store in West Palm Beach, and they actually instructed me that the beanie was correct for the suit that I was wearing. And I laughed and I said, let's go. They explained to me that they actually do sell hats. And I said, but this is not formal, right? Would this be considered rude? And they're like, no, it's perfectly fine. And I was like, really? And they were like, yes, of course. And they had similar hats, but I was like, all right, I'm going to wear it.
Most of the talking points that you're hearing from the left, especially people like Hassan and like Harry Sisson, it's just a vehicle for the ad hominem, right? It's not about, there's no substantive criticism. It's just a vector of attack so that way they can insult Tim personally because they have no substance. They can't say, oh, you're wrong about the media. You're wrong about your question. The premise of your question was wrong. They can't do that. So they just have to say, well, look at how dumb his hat is. Look at how dumb his clothes are, blah, 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 blah. It's literally got no substance.
That was my response. Who wants to read it?
To be fair, it's a cool hoodie.
What I actually responded saying, I wasn't meeting with the president. When I met with the president, I did wear a suit. And this is, I was asked before, it's like, hey, you're going, should I get a suit jacket or something? I'm like, for the press briefing? I was like, I'm not dressing up for these people. And some were saying, yeah, but what about Carolyn Levitt disrespecting her? And I'm like, yeah, calm down. It's fake nonsense. If you're coming, when Zelensky went to the World Economic Forum, he wore a suit. That was before the war. But regardless, now he shows up to Trump and he's dressed down. And Trump didn't really care that much, but he did get criticized for that. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.